Really, one of the worst things that a couple could do during the first years of their marriage is just to isolate and it's just about them.
Mhm.
You will wear each other out. You will become annoyed and irritated. We need a community surrounding us who are encouraging us, praying for us.
Mhm.
Man, we're not cutting people
Mhm.
out of our life because they're so important.
Today, we're going to talk about how marriage is going to change your friendships. We've had such great engagement around opposite sex friendships. And so we wanted to really talk about how does marriage change your friendships?
Yeah, but first, don't forget to subscribe. We have weekly videos to help you and your spouse
Mhm.
and your marriage really thrive in Christ. When I'm thinking about this idea of how marriage will change your friendships,
Mhm.
it makes me think right off of kind of the honeymoon phase
Mhm.
that when you think about the marriage life cycle, when we get married, kind
Mhm.
of those first 3 years we call the honeymoon stage. As a matter of fact, the research shows that it lasts usually about 30 months.
Hmm.
And so it's important to
So
understand.
that's not even a full 3 years,
No,
because that would be 36 months. So 30 months.
Erin's
Interesting.
great at math, so I love
I'm
that. That's
shocked
what
this
she
early in the
brings
morning,
to our
but
marriage. It's good, accurate stats and math figures. And so it's important to understand what we're trying to accomplish kind of during the honeymoon phase. And I would say first and foremost, we're trying to figure out us. We're trying to strengthen our bond. We're trying to strengthen
Mhm.
our connection, which is what Genesis 2:24 is
Mhm.
telling us to do. That the man should leave his father and mother, should cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one. So what we're trying to do is strengthen this brand new marriage, this oneness,
Mhm.
and that takes time,
Yeah.
effort, and energy to do.
Well, and I always say that first year, we're laying the foundation of the marriage, because whatever we're doing in that first year, or maybe even into the second year, is really what's going to be repeated over the lifetime of the marriage. So it's so important during those first couple years to really prioritize the marriage. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, great, I have to cut everybody out. No, it really
Tell your
is.
parents you will never see them again
That's
now.
what some people hear, and that's not what we're saying. You have these relationships that are important to both of you, but how do we prioritize the marriage over those relationships? The marriage is the new focus of both individual lives.
Yeah, I remember back to when we got married. For us, what was unique is that I was in graduate school. So Erin
Mhm.
and I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. So we had all of our friends and close
Family,
connections,
yeah.
family there. But then I left. I was in Denver for a year.
Mhm.
Well, I'm an introvert. So it's not like I had all these new friends now in Denver. I mean, I had, one or two classmates
Mhm.
that I would hang out with. And so again, this is going to be painful, probably more painful for the extroverts, and especially if you're living where you grew up, living around family, living around close friends,
Mhm.
than what it was for us. Now you're an extrovert,
Mhm.
but you moved to Denver.
Right.
And so it wasn't that we had to deal with,
Mhm.
ooh, how do we set boundaries and things? We probably had to do more with family, which, I mean, that's probably its own separate topic.
Mhm.
The point is that for us, it was very different. It was
Mhm.
much easier for us to go, oh, we're setting boundaries and we have all this, time for just you and I. So this is probably more important for the couples who are staying
Mhm.
where they grew up and
Right.
around friends and family, probably for that extrovert of the
Yeah.
relationship.
Or if one of the spouses is moving to the area where the other spouse has grown up and maybe has family
Yeah, that's
close
going to be one
by,
too.
that it's navigating that in a way that feels good to both.
Yeah.
Because one spouse is moving into their connection world. And so it really is, how is that individual going to prioritize the new marriage? Not cutting everybody off, but allowing that natural shift to happen, that the marriage is now the priority.
Yeah, so think about this idea of leaving and cleaving.
Mhm.
That's the instructions that we've been given as a new couple. What does that then look like
Mhm.
around our friendships? And definitely friendships need to be redefined
Mhm.
in terms of, hey, I had all these close friendships and we hung out every weekend or several
We play
days
video
during the
games
week.
every
Yeah.
night. And it's much different if you're single because you have full control of your schedule. But
Right.
now there's two people and you're combining those two lives together. And so it's considering both. What is a win-win for both?
Yeah. So it really comes down to Erin and I really having this conversation, talking about what are maybe these friendships that are present as we get married that we need to think through and reprioritize. Because Erin and I would always encourage you have those conversations, first of all with each other, but then with friends or with a family member to let them know if you feel some distance, this is my priority and I love you. But here in the first year, especially, that we're trying to figure out us and create our identity. And that just takes a lot of time. And we want to be able to do that. And I don't want you to personalize that and feel hurt like, oh, they got married and then I got dumped. It's not that at all. So talk about that with your friends to say, I still want to hang out. We're still going to do some things. But boy, I'm scaling back so that I can prioritize. Because you're really trying to strengthen the attachment, right? Within that first year of marriage. I mean, that's the oneness that we're talking about. We're trying to create an identity of who are we now as a couple. You're going through so much change within that honeymoon phase. You think about maybe moving to a new spot or, getting a new place together to where you're trying to figure out where does all the furniture and household items belong, who's sleeping on what side of the bed,
Where are we going to
are we
church?
sharing toothpaste, all that. Yeah.
Are we going to your church, my church, a new church? Where are we working? It's all those things. Where are we living? And even, having somebody else sleeping in your bed. So it just is all a lot of adjustment, and it takes intention to do that first couple years well.
Yeah, in Deuteronomy, so in the Old Testament, the Bible speaks to this. When it's telling that when a young man gets married, he is not to go to war. He is to stay home for a full year and bring pleasure to his wife. And so even the Bible is recognizing there's a season to where not only you're not going to go off to war, but you're going to reevaluate and kind of reposition friendships and relationships to really focus on this. And so it's harder. We're just acknowledging this is way harder when you are getting married in the place that you grow up in and have all these relationships.
Totally.
And this is going to take more work and more conversations. Erin and I love that we moved away. So it was a little bit easier. We still had challenges and we still had to figure out some things, but definitely around friendships. We just would encourage you though, communicate, talk about it, and then talk to those friends so that everybody kind of gets what's going on.
And then you think about, we each have individual friends, and how do we combine our world? Maybe some of these friendships become couple friends, especially as we talked about opposite sex friendships previously. It's so important for opposite sex friendships to become shared friendships.
Yeah.
Also to develop good couple friendships that are in the same season of life you guys are. To have that double date, to invite couples over for dinner, to experience this new season together.
Yeah, because we need people. We need a community surrounding us who are encouraging us, praying for us, spending time, laughing with us, and connecting. I think about, in Song of Solomon, so you had King Solomon and the Shunammite maiden. And as their love story unfolds, what's so cool is that you see all this dialogue between King Solomon saying these amazing things to her, she's saying all these amazing, affirming things back to him. But then every once in a while, the daughters of Jerusalem weigh in. Like they're the ones that say to Solomon and the maiden, you guys need to guard against the little foxes, these little foxes that can destroy your vineyard of love. That was their friends saying, yeah, you got to watch out for the big things, but really you guys need to make sure that you're noticing the little things like busyness and exhaustion and things like that. But that was their friends really speaking into their relationship.
Yeah, and we need friends. Greg needs guy friends. I need girlfriends. We need shared couple friends. I cannot expect Greg to be my only friend.
Yeah.
I love that we are best friends, but I also need to invest in other female friendships. But again, the priority is the marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. Is a trophy husband. I can only do so much. But that's such a healthy part of a marriage. I mean, we have a marriage assessment where we look at these important behaviors that help our marriage, stay strong. And one of those is community, because that's how God created us. He created us to be in a relationship, and that's so true for the marriage. And so encouraging each other, like really one of the worst things that a couple could do during the first years of their marriage is just to isolate, and it's just about them. You will wear each other out. You will become annoyed and irritated. It's your marriage, your relationship was never meant to be exclusively just the two of you. We're saying, yeah, you need to make sure that you're drawing back from friends to prioritize this so you can strengthen the attachment and your identity as a couple. Man, we're not cutting people out of our life because they're so important. And how have you noticed, like, I'm an introvert, you're an extrovert. Like, it is very different. It's hard for me to stay motivated to actually leave our house now that, stores will deliver food. I don't know why I need to leave. If I could only get focused to let me work remotely, I would probably just have a pair of pajamas on, and that's it, all day, every day.
They don't need to know that.
But so it's just different.
Yes.
And I know that recognizing, I really understand that now, because it used to create a lot of conflict between us. Why is there someone over once again for the fourth night in a row? Why do we need all these people over? Like, that was foreign to me, because this is not the same desire. I have to struggle with even making myself go out with other people, because I love hanging out with you and I love hanging out with our kids, and that fulfills me. Now, I'm blessed to have amazing colleagues here, and the guys that I work with, we have great relationships with, and that tends to fill that bucket for me.
Yeah, versus for me, as a counselor, I'm sitting with people all day long pouring out, and my clients can't be my friends ethically within the counseling world. So post getting off work, going home, there's times I do want to just hang out with Greg and be with Greg, but there's also a desire.
Times.
I know for me as an extrovert, I need to also make time for friendships. That is an important way I care for me. And, it looks different. Today I'm having lunch with a friend right after this. So I can do that during the day sometimes.
I'm having lunch by myself.
Oh,
I need alone time.
You can come have lunch with us.
Yeah, that's okay. But it is that sort of idea of going, how do we blend? How do we include? Erin and I, just 2 nights ago, met up with 2 other couples, and we just sat at a fun restaurant and had great conversation.
That I initiated all that. They're my colleagues. Because, of course, very rarely is it you.
That would not occur to me. And that's the part. Were you ever, like, early in our marriage, like, irritated? Like, why don't you ever invite people over? Why am I always the one to ask
Yeah, we
people
didn't
over?
understand introvert, extrovert. I know today most people understand that. We did not. I didn't know what was wrong with him. Like, why did you not want people around? But now I get it.
Yeah, I was implying there was one thing wrong with me, but there was probably many.
But again, it's creating a marriage where there's room for both.
Yeah.
And so we navigated that through conversation, setting boundaries of how many times on a weekend are we having someone over? How many times are we going out on a weekend?
Yeah.
But also knowing that Greg refuels by being at home and having alone time. And so it's creating space for both.
But what I was saying about when we met up with your colleagues and spouses, what I liked about that is that idea of kind of integrating. So you've taken colleague relationships and included spouses. And I was even telling you, on after it was over, you're like, how was it? Did you enjoy it? I said, I really liked it. And actually, the thing that I wish could have been different is it seemed like the guys and I talked and you and your female colleagues talked. And I was like, man, maybe next time, I get that we're going to do that, but how about we look for some ways to integrate? Maybe even switch places up to where we're all kind of integrated, because
Are we going to assign seats?
I would. I'm willing to do that.
And by the way, we're going to do that once a month now. So
which is great. But what I noticed about that, what I enjoyed is being able to hang out with both couple friends to
Mhm.
where I'm benefiting from those same sex relationships, the
Mhm.
guys, but also really enjoying the conversations with your female colleagues,
Mhm.
but all
Mhm.
done in an appropriate
Right.
place. So
Yeah.
we just encourage you, look for those opportunities, keep double dating with couples, look for those ways to invite community in. At
Mhm.
the same time, early in your marriage, you gotta make sure that this is getting the
Mhm.
most time and attention, because you really want to strengthen that bond, that attachment between you two. And as that grows, then you can begin to integrate more people into
Mhm.
your marriage. But you need community.
As we're talking about this, you and your spouse might be working on community or friendships, but maybe there's other areas that you want to focus on. Greg, you mentioned the marriage assessment, the Focus on the Family free marriage assessment. And when you go to take that, and we'll link it below, it's going to give you feedback on where are you strong in your marriage and where are some growth areas. You'll get to see both of your responses, and it's just a great way to strengthen your connection and really become aware of what are other areas we can focus on.
Yeah, we give you a big report, so there's plenty of information to
Mhm.
take maybe some of those growth areas and go, now how do we pick one and really work on growing in that area? Well, if you found this information helpful, go ahead and like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, because we'd love to send you weekly videos to help you and your spouse and your marriage thrive in Christ.